What's happening, y'all? This is Mike D with Black Fathers Now, where we're bringing the village to the brothers. Every couple of weeks, you can look forward to a quick inspirational message or a thought-provoking guest with knowledge and wisdom, all geared towards helping you be the best father that you can be. We're bringing the village to you. Now it's your turn to do something with what you learned. All right, y'all. Let's go. What's going on, fellas? This is Mike D with Black Fathers Now. Hope you are having a wonderful day. Now, check this out, man. This is going to be an interesting episode. I'm actually interviewing one of my best friends. He and his wife are actually the godparents of my children, and we are the godparents of their little boy. And so we are, hanging out, and we were just rapping. And he hit me to something that was quite interesting from a resource perspective that I think the brothers out there, the black fathers, could really gain something from. And it literally revolves around literacy and reading. As we all know, reading is fundamental, right? And we, as brothers, get a bad rap when it comes to reading because, a lot of folks say, oh, black men don't read and all of that. I would challenge that. Now, granted, we could always read more, but I would definitely challenge the fact that we don't read collectively. And but the resource that we're going to talk about today that my man hit me to should add to that, because this is actually a free resource that I personally did not know was out there. Like, I'm quick to go to Amazon, and if I get inspired, buy this book or send a book to somebody, or, send one of my own books to somebody, whatever. But he hit me to something that was really cool. It's available. And it's free. Speaking my language, is free. But let me get into who we got. We got my man, Keith Sylvester. I call him Little Colonel. That's his nickname. I'm just playing. I got my man, Keith Sylvester, and he and I have been really good friends for almost 3 decades now. That's kind of leading into how old we are. But both from Augusta, Georgia. And Keith is actually an electrical engineer by trade, but then he has his hands in a lot of different buckets, entrepreneurially. He actually, I'll tell you, a couple of years ago, when I wrote my book, Abe, Always Be Engaged, The 7 Keys to Living a Fit Urban Life, he actually, or his company, or his publishing company, did the ebook for my book. So he actually published the ebook and got it all uploaded for me, and it was really good resource. So I appreciate him for that. But long story short, we were sitting around talking, and Keith hit me to a resource in regards to literacy, in regards to reading, that I believe all the brothers could benefit from. And we're going to get to that in a second, but first, we're going to introduce, I also got to say this, man. I'm probably going to get in trouble because I interview all these doggone alphas on my my podcast. He's a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, so I got to let him, I have to mention that because he'll be here calling out, whatever. Long story short, yes, he's an alpha. I am a Q, a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, but he's an alpha. He's a good friend of mine anyway. We'll let that slide. You're afforded one mistake in life. This guy. But anyway, my man, Keith Sylvester, what's going on, brother?
Hey, Mike, man, everything is great. I'm just really happy to be here on your podcast. I really appreciate all the things that you're doing, Mike, and I've been impressed and proud of what you're doing, man, to just help enrich the community. So keep up the good work. And Mike, I'm sorry if my voice is a little raspy right now, but I hope that the content is able to come across in the best way possible.
Nah, it's good, my man. I think we will be able to generate the good stuff from a raspy voice. And you know what? I know your wife probably likes the rasp in your voice anyway, right?
This guy.
and Keith, I have to let you know, Keith is a husband and a father as well, to a beautiful little boy and a beautiful wife as well. Give your family a shout out, brother.
Hey, beautiful family, wife Catherine, Sylvester, our little boy Victor. They are the world to me. I love them very much, and they are always at the center of the decisions that I make for my family.
Awesome. And as a black father, that's what it's all about. And, we're actually here at the house, and so you all might hear some kids come in and out of the door, come out to the back porch and see exactly what we're talking about. But you know what? We're fathers. This is Black Fathers Now, And right now we're doing an interview, and guess what? Y'all are going to get the full totality of that.
Yeah, all right? Absolutely. And I'm going to caveat what I said earlier. Not only is my family at the center of my decisions, but of course, first and foremost, Christ is the head of our household. So we always have that at the forefront of our mind and decision making as well.
That is it. That is it, Maxwell. Come on, man. You don't have to play right here. We're doing an interview, brother.
Why?
You can stand here. Say hello.
Hi.
That's my boy Maxwell. He wants to come out and see what we have going on. Go back inside and y'all watch the movie, man. We got the movie on for you.
But
When what? Come on. All right.
when the other movie goes,
Come here. Tell me what you need. When the other movie what?
when Trolls goes off, they can watch Moana.
You can watch Moana after Trolls goes off. We'll see about that. Now, y'all go back inside and hang out with Victor and your sister. All right. Now, so, Keith.
Yes, sir.
You are in a lot of different things. You have a lot of different things going on in regards to kind of having your hands in a few baskets here. Tell the brothers exactly some of the things that you kind of have going on in regards to, your entrepreneurial life or things that you kind of are tinkering with, outside of being an engineer.
Sure. Hey, Mike, thanks for asking. So, entrepreneurially, we working on a few things. Right after I got out of college, one of the first businesses that I was able to take a part of was with a company called Legal Shield, and it is a home-based business opportunity. And one thing that I'll always share with people is when you're getting ready to start a business, I'm a firm believer of doing everything that you can to speed up your learning process. And at the time, I didn't realize I was embarking on that path, but getting involved with an exceptional home-based business company such as Legal Shield, which provides legal services and identity theft services to small businesses, individuals, and we can even provide it as an employee benefit, and of course, a income-generating opportunity as well. But the best part about that is that when you join a great home-based business company, you're able to literally move into the realms of franchise ownership. So you don't have to put yourself in a position where you have to reinvent the wheel. All you do is come in and follow a system and have success. And our family has been blessed with the success that we've had within our Legal Shield business. After being in Legal Shield for a few years, I think as entrepreneurs, we kind of have that itch to try and dabble into different things. Mm-hmm. So I've always been a big fan of reading. I remember my mom really got me interested in reading back in elementary school. And I'll just remember this one little thing that kind of turned the corner for me. And I'm sorry I'm kind of rambling, Mike, but there's a point to this.
It's all good.
I remember I was sick. No, that wasn't it. There was one summer where my mom said, "Hey, son, if you read so many books this summer, hey, you've got like a cash incentive at the end of the summer." And that really turned me on to reading. And I've been such a fan of that since.
Hold on. You just said, okay, the whole entrepreneurial thing, okay, that's creating things for the world, but it's also generating money. And then you talk about reading. Sure. Your mama knew long ago that you had this entrepreneurial thing because she was like, "Brother, I'm going to pay you to read." So you want to make it like I found this interest in reading and all of this kind of stuff. Like, no, man, your mama paid you to read. And so, but it worked. And it worked. And that spawned the interest going forward.
You can look at it that way. I'm
going to call it like a see it player.
I had to think about that. I never looked at it in that way. But at any rate, I've had a love of reading, definitely since that point. And that goes into what Mike was talking about earlier. My wife and I have a company where we help people get their books ready to be published, ready to go out there on the market. We have a website, ebooksolutions.org, and our philosophy is that everybody has a story that needs to be told or should be told. And we love the direction that the publishing industry has gone in. The fact that people are able to publish on their own without having to go through a major publishing house. There's so many great stories out there, like Mike's book with Abe, Always Be Engaged, where if one was having to wait for the traditional route, they may just be waiting forever. But there is a lot of prestige that's associated with being self-published, not like it used to be several years ago. So we're always so excited to help people get their books out there, get their hearts out there, get their stories out there to fulfill whatever goal getting that book published means to them. So those are our my primary two ventures. outside of my engineering work.
Good stuff. And we're going to have Keith's contact information in the show notes. So if you have a question or want to reach out to him or just let him know, like, yo, I really dig the raspy voice on the interview, Keith. I'm just playing. No, but if you want to contact him and just have questions about, publishing an ebook or, interested in like the Legal Shield business, we'll definitely have his information in the show notes so y'all can get to him. And, but today, when we were talking earlier, Keith, you hit me to something that was interesting. And, I feel like I'm pretty aware of what's out there. But you told me about this resource called Public Domain, right?
Yes, sir.
Where there are books that are available for download for free for anybody. All you got to do is just go to the site and download them. And they're books that were before a certain date or have certain criteria or whatever, but they're available. Like, the information is there. You think about this. We were sitting around talking earlier. You could build a house from scratch by watching YouTube and going to Home Depot. Everything that you need, all the materials that you need are at Home Depot, and all the information you need is at YouTube. But most people don't know how to synthesize that data or how to put it all together to properly do it in the right way. And so if the information is out there, but you don't know it's out there, you don't have the ability to go in and access it. So what Keith mentioned to me earlier with Public Domain, it let me know that there are resources that are out there that are available that could be beneficial to folks. But if you don't know they're there, you don't know they're there. You know what I'm saying? It's like you don't know what you don't know. So Keith, talk a little bit about Public Domain. Like, what is it, and what things can people find on it? But then also, where can people access Public Domain?
Sure, not a problem, Mike. And man, Public Domain is such an exciting thing, because if you're looking at it from somebody who just wants to really just increase their reading or maybe increase their library, the Public Domain is an awesome place to be. If you're an entrepreneur and you're in the business of content creation, the Public Domain is also an amazing place to be, because if you're an entrepreneur, and we all know that really, especially being online, for example, I heard it said best, content is basically currency. You've got to be able to put out amazing content to keep audiences engaged. But sometimes we hit those mental roadblocks. Well, Public Domain can definitely come in and help close the gap, if you will. So there are a lot of different ways to describe Public Domain, and I'm not an attorney, so I don't even want to go into a lot of the details, and I don't even look at myself as someone who is a savant in that area, but I just know enough about it to make it useful to myself and people, such as my friend Mike.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, and what's interesting, don't discredit yourself, because I was listening to a podcast. I believe the guy is John Lee Dumas, and he talks about the qualifications of being an expert witness in the court of law. And what qualifies as an expert witness, or a person that qualifies as being an expert witness, is just someone who knows more than the others in the room. So don't minimize your expertise, because you are an expert when it comes to Public Domain to me, because I didn't even know what the Public Domain was. So I'm going to you for that resource. And there will be a lot of brothers who are listening to this who have never heard of Public Domain. You are that go-to guy. So you are an expert to them. Now, granted, there's probably somebody who is in, some kind of creator or database organizer of Public Domain that, yeah, they are the expert to you. But to us, brother, you are the expert. Walk in that. Okay, now go on.
Well, thanks, Coach Mike, walking in his calling right there. But before I get to the meat of it, just to elaborate a little bit more. So Mike and I were talking about Public Domain from a book standpoint, but the public items that fall within the Public Domain are in a vast number of areas. To not only include books, it includes images, it can include music, it can include old movies, it can include certain videos. So the notion of being able to legitimately go online, find content that you can either have for your own personal use or have content that you can repurpose for commercial purposes through Public Domain are virtually endless. And the thing that's exciting about it, if you're looking at it from a commercial aspect, the aspect of generating income, it just takes a little bit of creativity, and you can put some amazing content together, amazing products together from Public Domain. But the way that I've typically looked at Public Domain is I've looked at it like this. So you've got basically a few different areas that you can look at when you're trying to identify Public Domain. And I'm just speaking about public domain as it refers to what's known as, let's say, expired works. So stuff that may have been under some sort of copyright, but that copyright has expired and now it's open for use. So, for example, all works published in the U.S. before 1923 can qualify for being in the public domain. And there's some other caveats as well, but I just want to focus on that for the moment. That's pretty much where I do a lot of my looking, works that are published before that time. It's amazing to know the number of great writers throughout U.S. history that have put stuff out there that you can, no kidding, go to the store and purchase that book. But if you know it's in the public domain, you can still purchase it if you want to. But hey, why not download it to your tablet, your computer, your phone, so you have it with you on the go? So we're going to put some more resources in the show notes. But the place that I primarily go to when I want to find public domain books is Gutenberg.org.
Okay.
So to give you the spelling for that, let me.
Well, we'll put that in the show. We'll put that in the show notes. You don't have to go through
right.
trying to spell Gutenberg, because I'm going to misspell it right now, and unless we look it up, you'll probably misspell it too. You know, we're all gifted in different ways, fellas.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But we'll have it in the show notes, so you can click on Gutenberg.org and go and actually go directly to that and really search the public domain. So Keith, talk a little bit about. So you said before 1923. So is that all works, or is it some works, or is there any specifics associated with that? Like talk to us a little bit about that.
Sure. So from what I understand, it is works that have been published in the U.S.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's the primary caveat there. And this really came to the forefront of my mind because yesterday I realized I didn't have a couple of the books that I'm reading with me, and I was like, wow, you know what? I've got Souls of Black Folk at home. I love to read it, and I'm like, hey, I wonder if that's in the public domain. So I went to Gutenberg.org. I put in the Souls of Black Folk, and wouldn't you know it, and not only it popped up, but when you go to the website, you'll see all the different formats that you can download it in so that you can have it there with you. So amazing resource, definitely recommend it. Another great avenue for you to go to get your content. And one thing I want to share, because I know Mike and I are big readers, ferocious readers. And one of the things that I hear people say is I don't have time to read, and I get it. I know we're all busy, but I realize that we all have time to listen.
That's right.
So if someone can listen to a book, hey, I think that's about as good as reading.
Yeah.
So there's an app that Mike and I were talking about yesterday. So, full disclosure, I'm not an Apple dude. I don't have Siri talking to me, and my phone really isn't that new. Right? I'm an engineer, but I'm not up on the latest with my phone. But at any rate, my phone does not have the ability built into it to read things back to me. So I had to go to the Google Play Store, and I downloaded an app. It's free. It's called Voice Out Loud Reader. And what that app will let you do is it will let you upload a PDF to it, and it'll read it back to you. I mean, this thing is so slick where you could actually go, and let's say there's an article on a website, you can actually put the website into the app, and the app will pull up the content on that website and read it to you. So it's a great way, in my mind, to, let's say you're driving to and from work. It's a 15, 20-minute drive. Well, in my mind, instead of listening to the radio the whole time, why not put in a book? Why not go out there to, I don't know, Mike's latest blog post and put that up on the app and have it read that back to you? It's just a great way to get it in and enrich your mind, which is typically during a time where we may not be using it productively.
Man, fellas, you just got another jewel dropped. Voice Out Loud Reader. That's the name of the app, crap.
Yeah, and there are tons of apps out there.
But that's just one that you can basically say that works.
Yeah.
And I think for those that maybe are Apple users or those that are listening to the podcast on iTunes, if you're an Apple user, I believe you all have a native function within
Siri.
with Siri. Yeah, you can actually do that. But if you're not an Apple user, Voice Out Loud Reader is an app that actually allows you to download PDFs. So if you go to public domain and you can download a book in PDF form, you now have that book. You have that work by a W.E.B. Du Bois or Carter G. Woodson or, one of the great writers of the past. You can have that book downloaded, but then utilizing either Siri on your Apple device or utilizing the read out loud. The Voice
Out Loud Reader.
Yeah, the Voice Out Loud Reader, or another one of the transcription out loud reader apps that are available in the Play Store. you can now have these things at your disposal and enrich yourself with the words of experts of old. And what's interesting about information, resources, and concepts of old, a lot of the information that was written 100 years ago is still very much applicable today. And it's fascinating because we can gain so much. It's like you can look at your history, you can look at, you know, how things were, but then take it and fast forward it into 2017 times with the technology and stuff that we have available, and we can apply it, mishmash it up, you know, chop it and screw it, as the folks down in Houston might say, and you can make it your own and learn from it and build from it and become a better version of yourself, because reading is fundamental, fellas. We have to read, and reading does not mean that you have to necessarily look at the words yourself. It could mean that it's being dictated to you, as Keith mentioned. You can get the information in, you can process it, you can learn from it, and you can go and do something with it. Because once again, with Black Fathers Now, we're bringing the village to the brothers. We bring the village to you in the form of wisdom, insight, information, inspiration. But the question is, what are you going to do with what you learn? Keith dropped a whole lot of insight, information, and wisdom here for you to take with you, to apply it to your life, to learn from it, and then to use it. So I can't make you use it. I'm just about presenting it to you, and I just hope that you can see the value in what my man presented here, because this is fascinating. And you know, since I have you here, you know, this is Black Fathers Now, right? And so we always are about bringing the information to the brothers, but then I also like to ask the brothers that come on the show, like, how, you know, we're talking about literacy, we're talking about reading. How has this reading that started way back when your mama paged it or started reading over the summer, you know, but it's turned into something that's a love of yours. How has reading impacted you as a father, but then also as a husband, man? Like, how would you say reading has added to your experience as a father and as a husband?
So let's look at it from the father standpoint. We have brought the joy of reading to our son. So every night we read stories to our son, and it's fun because as we read new stories, it's neat to see his eyes light up. Our little boy is 3 at the time of this recording. So it's neat to see his eyes light up as we're going through stories, and it's neat to see him pointing at different characters in the book and asking questions about it, because he's hearing the words and he's seeing what's happening on the page, and he's trying to make the two things go together. So that's really neat. When we're going through the stories that he's familiar with, it's just kind of cool because we're reading the book, and there are times where he's basically repeating the words right along with us because he knows it. So that's really good. You know, from a marriage standpoint, it's been incredible because reading a book is one thing, but of course application is another. So there are things that my wife and I have read together to help enrich our relationship, such as Gary Chapman's The 5 Love Languages, which is a great book. And I just think about that book so much because just from a relationship standpoint, and for those of you who have not read it, I highly recommend it because the gist of it is this. It gets to the essence of not only how we as men or the person reading it likes to be loved, but what's more important is it tells you how you can show the person who you're in a relationship how they want to be loved. Because the way that we see the world is how we're looking at it through our sunglasses, you know, through our shades. But it could be the person that we're dealing with, they may appreciate it, but that might not be the impact that we need to make with them from a showing them love standpoint. So that's huge. And I go back to that book all the time because my wife and I have different love languages. Like I imagine you and your wife might have some different love languages.
We have different ones, yes.
So knowing how to convey love in the way that your spouse wants it is, you can't put a value on that. So just getting into the books, studying together, and applying what we've learned has been great in our marriage.
Fellas, wisdom. If you're not doing it right now, start reading, man. Start reading. And if you feel like resources is an issue for you and I can't afford to buy books and all of that, I mean, first get yourself a library card. I mean, I know that seems old school, but real talk. And second, you can go to Gutenberg.org and download books from the public domain, books of old. And there's a lot of wisdom in those. And if you don't feel like reading, if you feel like I don't have the time, I got 2 hours, transporting back and forth from home to work, and I'm always in the car and all of that, guess what? If you have a smartphone, if you have an iPhone, you can use Siri. If you have an Android, you can download the one of the what's the name of it?
One of those voice to text.
Yeah,
readers.
voice to text readers, and there's a plethora of them out there from the Google Play Store. Download one of those, download the PDF from Gutenberg.org, and allow it to be read to you. You know what I'm saying? Or any other text, anything, any article that you want to hear, download it and allow it to be read to you as you go to work. And, yes, we need to listen to music to kind of disconnect and relax at times, but then also use this time to enrich yourself. And, fellas, Keith dropped some wisdom. He dropped some nuggets. He dropped some inspiration, some things that you can go to right now. But he also gave you some key insight, that you can apply to your life to help become the best father that you can be. I mean, Black fathers now, like I said, we're bringing the village to the brothers because we want you all to ultimately blow the roof off this thing. We want you to go from being an average, okay, non-engaged dad to be an exceptional dad and make being an exceptional dad the standard. Because at the end of the day, we need to do that. Our communities depend on it. Our families depend on it. We depend on it because you get so much fulfillment by making impact. And so take what Keith brought to the table, utilize it, put it in action, and then and let's just see what happens. So I guess before we go, Keith, if folks wanted to get in touch with you, wanted to connect with you, man, what's the best way to do it? Is it social media? Is it a website, email? What's the way to do so, my man?
Hey, Mike, I appreciate that. And one thing I want to clear up earlier from something I said earlier, the name of the app is Voice Aloud Reader.
Voice Aloud Reader.
So we'll have that in
the show notes.
Absolutely. And you can reach me at info@ebooksolutions.org. And we'll have that in the show notes as well.
That will.
And Mike, if I can just foot stop on one thing.
Yeah.
One of the things that I picked up, especially being in business for myself, within our Legal Shield business, one of the things they really harp on is personal development. So I was a reader before, and it has just been enriched by being in the business for myself and just following good, sound business tenets. And one of the things that they really encourage us to do is just listen to 15 minutes of good personal development audio a day. And fellas, when you're in the car, as Mike said, you got to have that time to listen to some music. But it's amazing the skills that you can learn, the trades you can learn, just by devoting 15 minutes to good audio a day. It could be great personal development for the mind. You could actually go download a podcast, and it may be on learning a foreign language. Who knows? You do that 15 minutes a day starting in January, and by the end of December, you may be decent in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it's amazing. That's just by listening to it in the car and, of course, practicing what you learn. So being able to utilize that time, which a lot of times we take for granted. It's just time that we won't even think about as important. But every second counts. It's the only resource we really can't get back. So that's the one thing I really want to impart before we leave.
Fellas, take heed to the wisdom from my man. Take heed. And definitely all of his contact information will be in the show notes. His email address will be there. All right, so, and as far as social media, is there any way for the fellas, or I know there's some ladies listening, to get in touch with you via social media outside of just the email address?
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. We're in the process right now of rebuilding a lot of our social media brands. So we're not as active on there as we have been on the past. But you can definitely find us on Facebook at our Facebook page is Your Ebook Solutions, and we're at _ebook solutions at _ebook solutions on Twitter. And the Instagram, we're redoing that all together.
Okay, gotcha. So Facebook, Your Ebook Solutions, and then Twitter _ebook solutions.
Yep.
And we'll have that in the show notes as well, so that we can, so that you all can reach out to Keith and get with Keith, and he'll definitely reach back out to you and take heed to all the information that was put out there. And reading is fundamental, fellas. We got to do more of it. And it's interesting, this podcast is brought to you by blackfamilyapparel.com. And on Black Family Apparel, we actually have a shirt called the Yes We Read shirt. It's actually a picture of a young brother reading a book, sitting on top of a basketball. And the whole concept is just showing that he's using the basketball as a chair, but I'm focused on reading because reading is fundamental. And yes, we do read. You dig it? So this episode is being brought to you by blackfamilyapparel.com, where we're celebrating the nuances of the black family and also helping to rewrite the narrative of what's being put out there about us. So grab the shirt or grab anything, but visit blackfamilyapparel.com. As always, follow at Black Fathers Now on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Visit blackfathersnow.com. If you're listening to this from the website, make sure to go to iTunes or Stitcher Radio or Google Play, download the podcast, give us a rating, share it with your friends and family, and because this is all about creating a critical mass of brothers really doing it and blowing the roof off and being the best fathers that we can be. So as always, fellas, y'all be blessed, well, and wise, and I'll holler at you. Peace. Yo, fellas, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And always, always, always visit blackfathersnow.com, as well as follow Black Fathers Now on virtually every social media platform you can think of. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. Just follow us and engage with us, man. Look forward to hearing from you. And I guess until next time, I'll holler at you. Peace.